We have got some familiar names. I'm sure a few of you know who the Sniper, AOE, and Dark Yeti are. They, of course, are part of, I believe, Team ABCD. And then their opponents are going to be Polenta and Mim of Elena from Bomba Anarchica.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see how they're gonna play it. Mostly expecting the towers from Mongols to come out. So, like, who would you like? You would definitely want to hit French here, and I was
Yeah.
curious if the English is gonna do the defense that I mentioned before or not.
I think they'd have to do the one you mentioned, because I said sometimes you get the favorable spawns where your golds are as close together as possible. But if we look at the French and the English base, we can see that the golds aren't as far away as they possibly could be, but they are like an equal distance, right? You've got Dark Yeti, his spawn to the top left, and then Sniper's spawn to the top left, so quite far off.
Yeah, well, the important thing that Vodka is highlighting here is that the gold mines are together. So if you do manage to get a tower up there, the French is completely out of gold. You can't really easily move to a different gold mine.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those awkward things where, like, even if you try to switch around the pressure and maybe jump onto the HRE player, you can see with the layout of his base, although they're direct on the west side, they are split, so it might be difficult to fully shut out an HRE player from booming in response as well.
But what happened to Polenta here is a typical thing for me to have happened with Mongols, where you build the UVU and then later on you notice that there's a stone mine right next to your TC. So he probably didn't see that straight away.
Oh man, it happens so often. Like I've been sitting there with gold vision sometimes. Like, why didn't he just build on that stone outcropping like 2 feet away from him? And then you check his vision, and he's actually scouted every single other part of his base, but that one spot.
Yeah, just because like at the start of the game you have very little vision. Usually build the UVU as soon as you can. So yeah, we do have the Vil coming forward, and it's gonna head to that double gold mine. And I think this will actually be very deciding of the game already, because if that goes up, then like I said, the gold will be completely denied.
Yeah, maybe this is the type of gamble they need. We do have to remember that ABCD, I believe they were seed 16th, whereas Bomba Anarchica are unseeded. So maybe there's a potential skill gap here to worry about, whereas this gives them the one-up to dictate. But one thing that has to be highlighted is, not only have we seen French players adapt to these type of rushes fairly effectively, I'd say, but also you came out and done this with one villager. There's a potential situation where you don't even get the outpost up in time. It's why I think we've recently seen a lot of players bring 2 villagers with the Mongols.
Yeah, the ever since the build time has been increased, it feels like it just takes forever to build the tower. So I do like the two-vil adaptation most of the time, but in this case, the sniper just decides, okay, I'm having done of this. I'm just deleting the mining camp, and we'll have a worry about it later.
Like, if I'm not mistaken, the way the maths works is actually just taking a second villager gives you the original build time, right? Because it's a minute now, but it used to be 45 seconds.
Right, yeah, exactly. So the one thing with Mongols that you always have to worry about is that you usually want to have the Khan together with your push, because you really need the line of sight. But then, you have some instances where you run out of sheep. I saw him being a little bit low on sheep, so I can't quite tell where the Khan is right now, but I think he's still at the back of the English base, yeah. So he might be in some trouble there. I think the sheep is starting to run out already.
It's one of those tough situations where sometimes we've seen a player, if they're up against English-type civs, the Mongols, they'll try for the horseman opening, and the benefit of that is you then have a stables to build a second scout, so you can just use your Khan aggressively for vision at all times. But it's such a big map, and the need for sheep, so often, you don't have the time to just babysit your army necessarily.
Yeah, and this he has to transition to berries now, and then the gold has to long distance mine. I think this feels horrible as a player. You can see the berries going for the long way route. Yeah, this is not a great start for him.
Uh-oh.
Hey, at least the tower was succeeded, so hey, there's something.
That's true. I'm not sure how long it's going to last, right? Because did he push, I think, 2 spearmen in the end? I think it's maybe 2
I think
spears.
he made 3. I think he double produced and made a single one.
Okay, but are they all, I guess they must all be in the tower. But, that can easily still be ran down, so, you maybe... what do you think you do as a French player? Because you have to address this eventually. Do you wait until you've got, ram access, potentially? Maybe the English player brings a ram, or do you just completely ignore this and try to aggress them back?
Well, the very old school counter with French is to make a lot of scouts, and then you can transition that into going pro scouts. Which, to be honest, I think pro scouts right now is a bit underrated, because it used to be the meta for a while, and then it got nerfed, and but nowadays people are not doing it anymore. at all. But like in a team game, there's so much hunt on the map. Like there's more than the regular spawn on a 1v1.
Yeah.
So like if you like let's say you make 7 scouts to kill the tower, and then you just pick up 1 deer pack at a time, you're gonna just have infinite food for a very long time safely under your TC. So I think that could be a good strategy to go for.
So I feel like the idea of pro scouts is especially super sexy in a 3v3, but it's almost like players just don't bother because of what you mentioned before, this whole idea that, you know, it's almost impossible to rush people, you can just chill. So people feel more content probably just going for farms, so they have long-term scalability and don't have to worry about the ball ache of microing all these deer around.
Yeah, the micro on the deer around is obviously a bit annoying, but I mean, like the amount of resources that it saves you, I think, is insane. So it's definitely worth it, and it can help you a lot in tempo, which definitely something French want to have.
Looks like he's getting that tempo. With archers already here, Polenta is a step behind, and this is something we said we were worried about, is like potentially if both players from the north go aggressive, Mimba Velena is not going to be able to help in the early game. But instead, this is just a one-on-one, and it's looking incredibly one-sided to open up this game.
Yeah, but what you're missing out on here is that Polenta is actually 300 IQ because he saved the stone at his TC for later. He knew exactly what the future was going to hold, and now he can still make a new Uvu.
Well, it's not just that. Like, I just noticed what's happening from Mimba Velena. They've gone for a pretty tight timing type build here. Instead of getting the infinite scalability the HRE can usually access, they did go for the Burgrave here.
Yeah, I'm curious about his gold count. Is there anywhere I could see it? Because like he's idled on gold completely. Okay, he's making a market to try and buy some.
Okay. I mean, so the good news for the HRE players, obviously this outpost can't be burnt down quickly, but if I'm not mistaken, those are 2 villages garrisoned inside the outpost, so more like close to 3 villages not working in the HRE economy when you've gone for such a strenuous build with the Burgrave here. It might hurt you dearly, especially now that he's being sniped on the north side. Lombos just took out, I believe, 2 of the villagers who were building up the Burgrave there.
Yeah, he's really hurting here, and the blacksmith, he's trying to get it down. Like the blacksmith is extremely important whenever you're facing longbow. Like the difference between a man-at-arm with ranged armor or without, like, you know, it's a completely different unit.
And this is the annoyance about Lombos, right? They can so easily reach in like this, and maybe you lose one of them, but you'll happily take a trade of 1 Longbow for 1 villager.
Yeah, I think, normally speaking, it's not really possible with the longbows if the defender is on point. Oh, he did take down the TC. The tower, I mean, sorry. Like if the defender is on point, he just really garrisons all the villagers and like one-shots the longbows.
Oh, but my point was like with these villages, right? Whenever you see them building anything past the initial TC, because the tile range, like I believe TC is at 8 tile range and longbows are 7, like you're very, very barely in range of the TC, so maybe you lose 1 or 2 max. And well, looks like the villagers got hard on the gold again, so Sniper directs what felt like half of his economy towards the gold vein. Looks like we are going to escalate the night production, which is quite scary for these Burgrave builds if the intent was for Lena to mass men-at-arms.
And it's interesting that the French player decided to make some archers, because most of the time you kind of like, okay, I have an English teammate, you can take care of that part of the game. But he decided to just mix units himself, and yeah, it's looking good for them. And even though they're not doing overly much right now, they're kind of just chilling outside the base here. You know, the enemy is completely cut off from each other. You know, those sheep are gonna run out eventually. You can mine gold, so I think they're in a great spot.
Yeah, I think the nice thing about this type of build with the archers come with French players you mentioned is it guarantees that you are tempo aggressor, right? Whereas if you wait for the Lombos, usually they're slow to come out because they're more expensive. They're also slow to move. Maybe the Mongol player gets a one-on-one where they can trade favorably. This just guarantees that you're going to have map control as the French-English player. And now the siege in, a lot of pressure is going to come on Elena. Elena doesn't even go for the emergency repairs here. So outpost is going to go down. Looks like it was 1 villager and 1 scout in there. So they'll both be taken out and no access to gold. And this is problematic. It means long-term Elena is burning even more food because that's more or less all they've got access to. And that means every time you trade, you're having to expend more food to get gold in return. Gold that you need to reach the critical mass of men-at-arms.
Yeah, and once these berries run out, then what are you going to get there? Like, you could be completely out of food. And with the Burger Paradise, I feel like the men-at-arms, you just want to accomplish something as soon as you can. It's not really like a long-term landmark.
No.
So him just kind of standing there is not what they were hoping to accomplish, I'm sure.
I mean, it's a mini knight, right? You get 2 for the price of 1 knight, but like you're same with knights, same with men at arms. You build this thing, you want to be doing some, whether it's in the Dark Age you build it or later in the Castle Age. It is a pricey one, and now, I mean, they're going to try to make a march across the battlefield, but I'm worried a lot more damage is going to be done to the Mongol player before the HRE player can even begin to threaten here.
Yeah, and they're really focusing on denying resources. I feel like it's just making sure they are completely stuck in their base, and then yeah, just slowly getting this game in their favor. I think sometimes people can feel the need like, oh, I have to completely kill someone off, like make Rams finish the game.
Yeah.
But just doing this, like just standing outside the base and like the old school medieval strategies, right? Like cutting off resources.
Yeah, battle attrition, right?
Exactly. I think that's what they're going for, and I think going great for them.
I always think it's like the best civ at doing this against is actually usually the HRE as well, because someone always try to remind people is like 40% gathering speed increase sounds insane, but it also means that they're expending their safe resources 40% faster. And well, things that don't look safe right now, Sniper does get caught out of his base, and is that me or is that no wheelbarrow? Because these villagers look like they're moving a bit slow.
Yeah, no wheelbarrow, no textiles, I think.
Okay.
You lost a lot there, actually.
I mean, you do in this situation. Like, I was expecting to get some impact because, like, the reason Men at Arms Rush is seen as effective is at this stage in the game, if you're playing your base in HRE player, your opponent probably doesn't have a lot of garrison points, and he probably has 3 times the villagers to save points. So he can save 15, but the rest have to run around. But because there's no wheelbarrow, there is no running around, just a lot of dying.
And you can tell that these men-at-arms picked up their ranged armor because we just saw a glimpse of the longbows tickling them, giving them a little back massage. And yeah, I mean, as soon as they get the ranged armor, they're extremely strong.
Pretty absurd. Well, it seems like they're going to continue to try to trade here. Knights are starting to turn this around, and this is one of the annoying things about the HRE men-at-arms is, even if you build their heavy maces, it's very difficult to beat out Knights because they can just cycle charge and move away, and that initial strike's going to be better than the bonus damage you attack them back with.
Oh no, and look at those vills just looking for a job. Yeah, this is what happens when you run out of sheep and berries. Like, they want to do something, but where do you go?
I mean, the deer is so far away, and a few horsemen are going to push him back home. I believe this is another player that did not get wheelbarrow.
Yeah, but in this case, it's understandable because like he was counting every gold that he had. Like it was very necessary for him to use it efficiently. So
yeah, but it's just annoying when you're up against the Lombos like this. He never actually got that wall fully up. So good maneuvering by Yeti to deny it. Well, it looks like horsemen are going to now start assaulting him, but I don't know if this is enough horsemen to win the battle. I still feel like Yeti's going to hold firm there, but in the meantime, his eco continuously raided. Sniper will have to react to that with the French Knights. Eventually, this men-at-arms count is going to be gone, though. Have to emphasize that. And remember, Elena is still seeking more food.
Well, his teammate is maybe giving him a chance to go for these deer now, so he might decide on doing that. I also briefly wanted to talk about textiles because I feel like it's one of the most underrated techs in the game. Like people, as RTS players, we care a lot about being efficient and we want to use our resources as well as we can. And we just think like, okay, we want to always produce villagers. Like it's so important. You don't want to be one vill down. But like most often, somewhere in the game, you're gonna lose vills to raids. And if you just save 1 vill from textiles, it's already a worthwhile investment. And
there you go.
For example,
would have been worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if the sniper got textiles this game, he probably saved like 4 or 5 vills already. So even if you're winning the game, like it's just such a good tech to get, I think.
I agree. It's one of those awkward situations where, like, you want to confidently believe you're going to win the game, and you can be like, well, I'm not going to lose villagers. It's like, yeah, I believe in confidence, but I don't believe in delusion. Even the best players at the end of the game will have villagers lost.
Yeah, and I lose vills all the time, so I accepted that. Like, yeah, you know how sometimes you can tell yourself like, it's not gonna happen to me. Well, it does.
It'll come back in so many different ways. Like, let's say you don't hit your time and the game goes later. Like, it almost feels like if you feel the game's gonna go more than, I'd say, 15 minutes, just get textiles.
Particularly interesting thing here, what they could have decided to do as well is that the Mongols drop some pastures in the base of his teammates.
True.
Because like The H3 player has plenty of wood, but farm transition is a lot slower than just getting sheep from your teammates. So I think that would have been great.
In fairness to them, there wasn't many opportunities to sneak villagers across, but there was that one moment when Polenta was pushing this Lombo army back towards the deer stack where he could have tried to sneak across. I don't know if the Mongol player got wheelbarrow either, so maybe that was one of the concerns in his mind, is if he got stuck out there, it's just lost villagers and nothing else.
I'm kind of surprised. Like this game to me, it felt like the momentum was like in the blue and green team the entire time. But if you look at the Vilkans, actually a lot closer than you would think, and he's really getting a lot of value out of these men-at-arms.
It almost feels like they weren't fully prepared for it, right? Like when it arrived, it almost felt like Sniper full-on panicked and backed away, and then Yeti was stuck trying to keep 2 players contained on his own, which feels impossible. And Sniper was stuck defending both of their bases because of how long these men-at-arms have lasted.
Yeah, and the men-at-arms, they lasted so long mostly because of the gold had been towered before, and so he never got that insane night mess going. Like he was making horsemen, he was making archers, so he wasn't as ready for the men-at-arm mess as you normally would have been.
And something we got to consider, right, is because he got blocked on that gold early, maybe that's why we didn't see Sniper pick up wheelbarrow, right? It's one of those things where most French players build it straight away, or it's not uncommon to forget about it for at least an extra 10 minutes afterwards.
Oh, you actually got another tower up there, and we didn't catch this at all. How did he manage to get that vill there?
Did the villagers? I think the villager originally survived, right? It was just spearmen inside, so because he sent 3 spears up and had 3 people garrisoned, so maybe the villager was waiting in the tree line or something the whole time.
Yeah, but if I'm gonna have a villager idle, like you're just gonna have that idle icon on the villager the entire game, I would be so frustrated.
Got it. So what we're saying is that Polenta is not super OCD about these things, right?
Yeah, well, I am, I guess, because like it's really hard to deal with. You're just whenever I see there like being any sort of number instead of a 0, I just I have to go and look.
Are we going to discover all of Don's hated like pet peeves? Right, there'll be things like, oh, I cannot stand players that click all the icons instead of using hotkeys.
I definitely have some pet peeves, but I'll try not to reveal everything.
They might be used against you in tournaments, you know. Like, why is he doing
this? Believe me, there are so many things you can use against me anyway. So we could give people a couple more.
You just got to throw in a few fakes, like things that you know are suboptimal, just to get people to do them against you. It's like, yeah, I totally hate it when an English player runs like half of his population across the map at the start of the game to take my gold away. Hate it.
Yeah, no, definitely don't go for that, man. Please. Oh, there's actually a funny thing. I think Symptom was a little bit upset about me with this, but I thought it was hilarious. I was playing a tournament game against Symptom, and I accidentally ran my scout into his TC radius, and I had like 10 sheep on it. Like it was really important that I had those sheep. And then so I noticed it. I pulled the scout away, and then I got out of range. My scout survived with like 5 HP or something. But I know that from his point of view, you can never tell if the scout died or not because it's always out of your vision radius.
Oh yeah.
So I just wrote RIP in chat, like I just pretended like it died, and then like he sent his scout home to go and collect the 10 sheep because he thought they would be there, but I was already out of there, and he was so confused that it really like it hurt his game as well. It was pretty shady of me, but it was hilarious as well.
I mean, I've said that the mind game is an important part. Like we never get to see the text chat, but some things you can use to really turn your opponent against himself. And well, looks like Sniper's greed is being turned against him here. Is going to be pushed in upon. He was just raiding in the HRE base, did idle a little of the economy, but a lot more returned in favor by the Mongol player here. I mean, that has to be like what, 5 villages dead, I think, maybe double that idle. Actually made that quadruple that idle and probably double that dead.
It's a lot of kills here, yeah.
Look at the health bars. Good God.
Yeah. What's funny about this game, it's like, I feel like we haven't really seen a fight except for that one Mongol against Longbow mass fight in the H3 base. And this has been, okay, I raid you now, okay, alright, it's your turn, you can raid me now. Like, they're just kind of, giving each other the chance to make a move.
I love the fact that they're just full targeted in on the French player. Like they realize, right, the way these two civs on the other side function, the English player is going to remain condensed, is going to be safe with a lot of static points to defend with. French players are greedy POSs, right? They like to move out, drop a mill somewhere, don't even place outposts most of the time. you know there's going to be plenty of villagers you can kill. The only upside I see for Sniper is he did learn from the first time, and he did at least get wheelbarrows, so less villagers dying, but still a lot of them flopping dead at the end of the day.
I kind of enjoy these 8-3 walls, and then the French Knights just coming in from the front.
It's easy to forget, man. You know, like, this is a palisade wall made of wood. That's a tree line made of wood. They look similar. They cover each other, right? Oh, man, it's always the hate thing.
It's so much pain when the units walk to your tree line. Like, you think it's walled off, and then it's just open.
When it clearly looks like it's wooded off as well. It's like two thin trees. And you're like, yeah, that should be fine. Like, the shrubbery covers it, and then you see them wiggle through the trees. Like, no!
But like, at the end of the day, I think the French player is really hurting here. The H3 players are really hurting, and then the Mongols and English kind of got off. What's it called? Unscathed, I believe.
Yeah, the idle pieces of crap. They haven't been involved in the bloodbath, right? Well, they've been serving out the villages, but they haven't had to really fight direct, which is good to now see them actually clashing with each other. A clash that it feels like is actually clearly favoring Yeti right now.
Yeah, he made the crossbows to counter the knight, so he's not really looking to fight this longbow army.
And by the way,
I do think. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say something to keep in mind is like these walls still aren't up for Elena. If I'm not mistaken, he still doesn't have wheelbarrow. It's one of those unfortunate situations where, like, if you had an HRE comp and you had another teammate who could make walls, you'd probably ask him to do it, right? But your teammate can't do it, and your villagers move super slow. And I think the way I always like math it out is like, you know, HRE villages are worth like 1.4 villages, right? Because the whole inspiration. So it hurts you more anytime your villagers have to spend time building.
Right, but I think it could actually be considered here as H3 to drop a second TC. I feel like you kind of just want to be into the game more, and I mean, it's so hard to get to Swabia in this game state, so. But I do think you, as H3 right now, you don't want to just mindlessly spam more men-at-arms. You kind of want to just counter your Mongol teammate to hold on for a while you get yourself back into the game economically. And I think both the French player and the H3 player are kind of in a similar position in that sense.
So you say you don't want to mindlessly spam men-at-arms, but if you look at that count, that's kind of what's happening here. But the difference between the last load and this load is I don't really ever see this load moving out of the base. Especially if they keep failing to wall themselves in.
Well, he's finally dealt with the knights, and I think, yeah, this is just going to be a temporary, like a 1v1 between the Mongols and the English, I think.
Wait. Surely Sniper just turns around and kills all 3 villagers there, right? I don't think he quite realized it was just villagers still chasing him, because he could have easily got some big bonus skills at the end there with the final knight.
You underestimate villagers, they're my favorite military units.
Don't you dare bait people with this.
You know this.
Look how intimidating that villager is. Wow, he really scared the knight.
I mean, they're not fighting. Like, if they're fighting, they would one-shot that knight easily. You gotta just believe, like...
Yeah, you only had like 50 health, and the villagers only do like, you know, 3 damage after negation. It'd be a very clear wash in favor of the HRE player, as long as he pulls 20 villagers. Oh man, this is turning around galore though. That one thing I will say, Artie, like, what is rate the worst civs to ram against in this game?
I knew you were gonna talk about this. It's always so funny when you come in there with the rams and they just pack up all the buildings, and you're like, oh yeah, that's how it works. But this would be a massive cleanup, I believe.
Oh yeah.
I'm not entirely sure yet, but
I mean, there's spring autumn placements and there's 3 of them. I think this is a rip for the Lombo army.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure how many crossbows were in the mix. And I feel like he's got both units in the same control group, and if you really want to use your army effectively here, you definitely want to have the crossbows shooting the knights. Yeah, this is gonna be a cleanup, and then all this ram investment he made, like, it's, you know, so much wood down the drain for like 1 stable or something. So
yeah,
I think this will swing the game in favor of the of yellow and green.
I mean, in fairness...
Yellow and red, sorry.
Yeah, in fairness, the crazy thing is, like, green and blue, it's deceptive. They had killed a lot of villagers up to this point, right? Like, if you look at the ecos neck and neck, but that was because of the double TC build from Polenta that kind of kept them in the swinging, and then the fall of the King's Palace to balance things out. But it's kind of crazy to think that, you know, after that failed dive-in by Yeti, I don't really know if Sniper and Yeti will get map control anymore.
Oh, he's 3TC compensating.
Oh,
This game,
we're going late.
I'm really unsure who's winning right now. This is a great first game because it's gone both ways multiple times. I was like, to be honest, I was pretty convinced that the snipers team was just winning. But look at this. He's highlighting it. 5 relics in the bank for Mongols, and if there's any Civ where you want to just like try to come back with, it's HRE. Like he doesn't have to do anything for a while. He can just completely rely on his teammates. And I actually think that the sniper overgreeded here with his 30C, and now this landmark is gonna get denied.
Out of all the places you're going to build it on the edge here, get spotted out, so that's going to be delayed. There's a lot of arrow fire coming in, but a lot of troops here. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Polenta had parked himself here. I don't think he has siege engineering improved, so no way that he could build into Trebs or Mangonels. It's going to force a lot of pressure back home, and I wonder if behind all this is Elena considering going up, because that men-at-arms count has barely increased, and the HRE player has never left their base. Could be that they're going for Imperial Age, and it looks like they are against the edge of the map, so red is going up
perfect, yeah.
with the Palace Swabia, rather.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if he would have the time to do this, which is why I suggested second TC earlier, but yeah, his Mongol teammate bought so much time, and he's using it very, very efficiently to just get Swabia and bring himself back into the game. And so a certain Frenchman that's not called the sniper, but Marine Lord, actually, I learned from him that whenever your landmark is under pressure, just cancel it. I mean, you can just rebuild it somewhere else. You get full refund. So I think by we, I mean we as players, like we sometimes feel like I'm building this here, like this is where I decided I'm gonna do it right here, right now, but just cancel it, just build it somewhere else. It's pretty good most of the time.
I think the word that you're humbly trying to avoid there is pig-headed, right? A little bit stubborn about it, It's like, no, this was the plan. This is where this had to be all along. Yeah, but if you just move it like half a screen, no. I've got building permits for this exact location, nowhere else.
Yeah. I asked the government. They said it's okay.
What is this? I love the confidence on Sniper. He's like, I'm about to be housed, so while being chased by Mongols, I'm just going to build a house here with a bunch of villagers. Gets away with it as well. But the biggest thing that someone got away with is Elena. Like, this tech up, because of what Polenta done, throwing that army away, this was for free.
And the smart thing about building a house in a dangerous location is that no matter what, you will free up pop space. Either the house gets finished or the unit dies, and then the villager dies, and you also have the pop space. So either way, it works out for you, right?
I would expect you to be the person talking about villagers in this specific way. It kind of fits. For those wondering what I mean, like this guy likes to use his villagers aggressively more than any player I've ever seen.
Like I said, you usually have a lot of them, so I mean, you might as well use them to fight.
Don just cracks the pipe. He's like, war is population control, Like, we could build more houses, or we could just start a war with someone.
Yeah, like, for example, when people try to figure out how to counter like a 2TC song or something,
then
they're like, I need 3 TCs to make an equal amount of villagers or something, and for me, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna lose 40, you're gonna lose, 200, we're just gonna have a bloodbath. I don't look at it in a way of trying to compensate by making my own, I just want to kill theirs.
Yeah, you have to like look and go, haha, what an idiot, you have to build more villages quicker. That's gonna cost you more wood. Okay, we're really huffing the copium trying to... We won't talk about the BS that is the Chinese right now. Instead, we'll talk about the BS at how this game turned around. Brilliantly done by Polenta and Elena. Now look at the eco lead that they hold. Military count is similar, but economy now clearly and definitively in favor of yellow and blue.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed with Red in particular here. I think, this entire game he's really been on the back foot. He's really been hurting, but the units that he has been able to put out, they've got so much value every time because, for example, he didn't just randomly decide to raid the English player. He only did it when the push was happening on the Mongol player. Like he wasn't running his men-at-arms into units mindlessly and just losing them, but he was only really going for the raids when he was able to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the sniper here is really kind of dying. I mean, he tried to go 3TC to compensate, like I said, but he's just bleeding everywhere.
Yeah, it's just heavily armored units running through this thinly defended area of free TCs. And, you know, someone will give credit to Elena for is usually when we see these Burgrave builds, you just rush the units out, right? You waypoint them into your enemy's base. He didn't do that here. He waited at home, and it looks incredibly inefficient. But if you think about the wider game, it makes a lot of sense because Polenta can't defend against 2 players on his own. And you don't want to fight them directly because it's French Knights and Lombos. So that the only thing you can do is wait until you've got critical mass to leave the base.
Yeah, and you also definitely have to wait on the blacksmith tech. I think I mentioned this before, like the no upgrade men at arms, like no ranged armor upgrades, they will just die. If they walk into an English base, like, the town side, they're just okay, says thank you, and they disappear. But as soon as you get the ranged armor, then they can't die anymore. So
I mean, I'd actually say like the Burgrave. People will probably look at this game like, oh man, the Burgrave wasn't worth it because you got it to Imperial and everything anyway. But it's like, it's one of those deceptive situations where it makes a lot of sense because if he didn't have the Burgrave, he would have had to have found room for multiple Raxes around his TC. We already saw that Lombos could kill him while he was doing that. So you're probably not getting the men-at-arms critical mass without Burgrave, right? And if you went Regnitz instead, because your teammate had already lost map control, when are you ever getting out of your base to pick up relics?
I can pretty much guarantee if he went Regnitz this game, they would have lost already.
Yeah.
Like they were so much on the back foot, out of resources, they had to get some kind of counter going. And he bought time for his Mongol player to do something, and then Mongol player bought time for him to make the sub. Yeah, like a team game is often like this flow between the 2 players where, okay, now you're strong, okay, now it's my turn to be strong. There we have it. We get our first surrender.
Yep, they've finally given up. Felt like death by 1,000 cuts. Sniper has been pummeled time and time again, and he has finally had enough. So ABCD will surrender in the first game. Bomba Anarchica with the early lead.
Really enjoyed this game. It was really exciting. I think so much back and forth. And yeah, I was completely wrong about my prediction, to be honest. I thought the game was going the other way. So
did it feel like, we have to give a lot of credit to the way that Polenta and Elena follow through on this, but did it feel like maybe Sniper and Yeti missed a timing window here when they saw the HRE player stuck with this Burgrave choice they couldn't use to begin with? Could you maybe have tried for more early pressure as the English and French player?